All right, here we go. We're talking Harry Potter movies today, something that is near and dear to both of our hearts.
So true.
We
So
had to
true.
kind of decide if we wanted to rank if we want to rank seven books, but as the movies, or if we wanted to just go all eight movies. We're going all eight movies.
Mm,
So one through seven, part two.
yep. Because
Um,
my list is for sure very different if we're ranking books.
Absolutely.
Maybe not very different, but it's different. It's
Yeah,
different.
absolutely.
So,
And we're doing it a different way today. Instead of going back and forth, we're going one through part two, and we're going to both say where we have it ranked, and then we'll kind of get into why we each have it ranked. And I honestly don't know any of your rank. I know one of your rankings because of the movie top 10
yeah,
that we did earlier.
yeah, that's true.
But other than that, it could be a complete circus here.
Hey, we're ready for it. It's gonna be a good time.
I think we got to just get right into it, starting with
Yeah.
Harry Potter, number one, Sorcerer's Stone.
Mm,
I think really quick before we do the rankings, one of the interesting things about this is I believe they made like the hard stance that the movie is the Sorcerer's Stone. None of this like philosophers versus sorcerers thing.
it's interesting, dude. I'm gonna be honest. I didn't even know the Philosopher's Stone was like a thing until
Mhm.
maybe 2 years ago. I was talking to someone and they said it was like a kid. He said he read like the Philosopher's Stone. I like kind of laughed like, wait, like that's not a book.
Yeah,
And then everyone around was like, no, like that's what they call it.
I kind of like
So
it better too.
hey, it's
I
too
kind of
bad.
wish they kept it.
That's not what it is. It's the
I know,
Sorcerer's
I
Stone.
know. All right,
But
number one, Sorcerer's Stone. Where do you have it ranked?
it's eighth. It's the worst one.
No way.
Easiest decision of this
That's
whole
not
thing.
even true at all,
Easiest
though.
decision.
I have it in fifth, but
That's wild.
eighth.
So
This is
look,
the one
look,
that starts
this
everything.
is the thing. Just because it's the first one and it has that appeal of like the start, like when you get into the books, get into the movies, this is the first one. It's exciting. So it's like, wow. But like it's just not the best. It's the worst one.
Why is it the worst though? No way is it the worst.
Um, it just it's if there's a movie that's boring, this is the one. I don't think it's boring. It's a good movie. I like it, but it's a little slower. I mean, there's so much less material, so much less that happens. There are little children in this movie. Like,
Okay, but you cannot tell me that like reading these books, whenever you read them, whenever you watch the movie, when you turn on this movie, like that is what you imagine it to be.
like
Like that
it's
it's
there's
like
some
it's
so
literally like stepping into the book.
it is. It's so nostalgic. And it's like you get so excited when you watch it because you remember the first time you watched this movie and it was like, wow, I love this so much. But then you think about how when you saw the second one, you're like, wait, this one's better. And then
I
that
don't think it
continues for
is
all the other
though.
movies.
I don't
So
know if
it's
it
the worst.
is.
It is the worst. It's the worst.
I could not disagree more.
It's like I said, it's the easiest decision to me in this
Like
whole. I
it's
love it. Like I love it. I really love it. But it's the worst movie. It's the worst
I
book too. We won't go through the books, but it's the worst book as well. It's just
I just don't think it. I think it's clearly not the worst one. Like
look.
it's just so there's just so like the thing I have written down here is it's just so warm and fuzzy. Like when you think about Harry Potter, when you think about all right, I wish I could go to Hogwarts, I wish I could do this. That's all this movie. Like this is before things get too serious.
Yeah,
It
but that's what like the
introduces
story gets.
everything.
It's when the story gets serious. What's when it's get. I can't speak. That's when the story gets interesting. That's when I'm like, all this stuff is happening. It's developing. The first one is just setting it up.
But there's something to be said about the warmness of it. The warm, like comfortable. You can
Yeah, it's
go sit
good.
by
It's
the
good.
fireplace.
It's so good, and it's
Wow.
8 out of 8,
Eight.
easy.
Wow. All right, where do you have the second one? Where do you have Chamber of Secrets on your list?
So I'll be honest. This was a really tough one for me. Um, I have it 6.
I have it seven.
So I'll be honest. I just changed in this moment. It was 7 for me, but now I changed my mind. It's 6. It is 6.
All right.
Um, when I was younger, I didn't. This is the thing. When I was younger, when I first was getting into Harry Potter, I was a little soft. So this one scared me a little bit. So that kind of pulled it down for a while. As I've gotten older, I really love
What
it.
part of it scared you?
I don't know. It's just like a snake, like the noises,
Okay.
like the.
All right.
Like I said, I was soft, but it's a really good movie. Like they're all really good, but I think it's a really cool idea. I think the suspense that's building the whole time throughout this story is really great. Um, you really get to see them in action, like actually fighting and stuff. Um, like in the first one, Harry doesn't really fight anybody, you know what I mean? Like you just
I,
so
I
it's
guess.
I this is where I really feel like the story is getting going. Great movie, great book.
You think it's getting going here?
It's really I mean, like it's
I
getting
feel
going the
like
first time.
the reason I have it seventh is because I feel like you could take out Chamber of Secrets and like not really lose much here. I just don't think
Ooh.
I just don't think in terms of all right, the diary is the weakest Horcrux. Let's be clear about that. The diary is like she was like, I need to come up with a seventh one. Oh wait, there was that diary thing. Let's just say that that was one.
No,
So like she could have
no,
decided anything as the
no.
Horcrux. A
What's wrong?
hundred percent.
Why is it bad?
100%. It's just so clear that she was not thinking of Horcruxes at
But what
that
about the way
point.
that it was destroyed in the second one? Like all those
But
details
like
matter.
the basilisk, but those are things that she came up with later.
You can't prove that. So I don't even, that's a bad
It's just
argument.
so clear. It's just
No.
so clear. All right. The whole like diary thing coming back to like he's trying to come back to life through the diary like just doesn't really make a ton of sense to me. Well, I like this movie. I do like the movie. Let's be clear about that. Again, I like all 8
Yeah,
movies,
right,
but
right.
this one it's
That's
just like
established.
I don't
Okay.
know. It's so right. The first one was all warm and fuzzy. The second one is like it's kind of the same vibes as the first one, but
A
it's
little more
just it
spooky.
loses the like introduction to the world aspect of it. You're kind of it's like you're coming back. It's the first one where it's kind of like what's going on with this weird basilisk thing, and there's just certain like with the book too. There are certain things that just do not make sense. Like for example, the snake, right? The duel
Hmm.
with the snake. Uh they all are like, oh no, Harry's talking to Snake. He told the snake to kill that kid. But the snake didn't kill that kid. The snake backed away. So so
Look,
come on, let's connect the dots at least a little bit here, people.
these
You
are
know?
kids. Let's keep in mind these are children. Okay. So
But yeah, okay. But
they got
some of them are
confused.
17 years old.
I don't know about you. I wasn't the smartest guy at 17. There's still a lot of maturing that you need to
You
do
would have figured that out.
as an
You would have figured
individual.
that out.
I feel like they're a little jarred by what just happened in front of them. Saw a dude talk to a snake. I'd be freaked out. I don't know about you. I'd be freaked out. I think that's all it was.
Yeah, I'd be a little bit scared, but I would sit there and be like, you know, all right, well, he didn't tell the snake to attack the kid because it didn't attack the kid.
Maybe the snake didn't listen. You don't understand. You don't know what he said because you didn't understand him. So I think that's unfair to say.
I don't know. I just think that this one,
Look,
if there was one that I was gonna skip, this would be near the top of the list. If I was doing a full rewatch, I was like, I need to save some
you can't.
time.
I mean, it's tough. You can't skip any of them. But
Right, but I think this if I was like I need to cut off 2 hours here, this would be one that I'm thinking about.
yeah, that's crazy. But I will say, movies 1 through 5,
Hmm.
there's a pretty big gap to me between 5 and 6 in the rankings. So like the fifth best movie is pretty significantly better than the sixth best, in my
Okay.
opinion. So it's like still a good movie, but it's not nearly like what most of them are. So
Hmm.
I'm not like dying on this hill that this movie is amazing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, and we do have it pretty close. We do have it 6 and 7.
Right. I was gonna say
So it's not like we're worlds apart here.
no.
I just think it's not even close to as good as the first one because I think the first one just has the introductory stuff in the first one just I think elevates it. But
Maybe.
all
I
right.
mean, you're
Are
talking
you
about
ready
like
for a
you're
hot take? You ready
yeah, I
for
was
a
gonna
hot
say you're
take?
talking about like you have it the worst. Go ahead.
I think Prisoner of Azkaban is the worst movie out of all 8.
Look, I have it 7. So I'm not that
Okay.
far off.
All right. I'm not gonna lie. I thought you were gonna have this one highly for some reason.
No. For a while,
I
I
feel
think
like
when I was
some
younger, I probably
people
did.
love this
Yeah.
movie.
I'll be honest. I really like it. I have a friend that saw the only movie they've seen is this movie,
Hmm.
and he like doesn't want to watch Harry Potter because he thought this one was bad.
Really?
Um, which his argument for it, I've heard him out. Like I don't agree with it, but um, it used to be that this was 6, and I had Chamber of Secrets 7. Um, and there's a lot I like about this. I definitely loved it when I was younger. I love the book because this one, like this is when the book gets there's a pretty big jump between length of 2 to 3,
Hmm.
right? And so the story, there's something there, and so that's why when I think of the third, I have it higher. But
Yeah.
if we're just thinking about the movies,
And the third book
um,
is great because you get a lot of the Marauder stuff in there
exactly,
too, which is a
yeah, which is
really
really
awesome part of of this whole like universe.
yeah. So great movie. There's a lot of cool stuff. Sirius being
Hmm.
brought into the mix is really dope.
Beautifully
Um,
shot too.
yeah,
Yeah.
Lupin is one of my favorite characters, so him
Hmm.
coming in is great. Um, a lot of very interesting stuff that happens. I'm the whole time travel piece.
It's a little bit weird. It's
It
the
is.
whole regardless book movie, just how she decided to the fact that in Harry Potter, if something has happened, it has always happened is just a little weird to
It,
me. It's
but
kind of hard to wrap my head around.
yeah, it's just time travel is so. It's very rare that I'll see a movie or a show that involves time travel and it not hinder something because it just
Yeah,
is. It's horrible. It like is impossible to really fully make sense. So
right.
that's my thing. But it's still a great movie. I really like it. But I
It
had
all
7.
for me, this the reason that this one's eighth comes down to one thing, and that is like runtime sort of. I don't it's not that I necessarily in my head I'm like this movie is just way too long. It's the fact that you get to the end of the plot, so to
Mhm.
say, and it's kind of like, all right, that was a full movie. There was a lot to unpack there. And then all of a sudden, you realize after you've seen it or after you've read the book, you realize there's another 30 minutes of us going back through the last 45 minutes that just happened, except from the point of view of, time traveling Harry and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And when you've just sat there and digested all the information that you just saw and all of the drama, because the end of this movie is super dramatic,
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden you realize there's more, it just feels so long.
Yeah.
And it's so like, especially after the first time you've seen it, again, if I had to cut time in like a Harry Potter marathon, I would be so happy just watching like the whole plot unfold and then
Mm,
skipping the time travel stuff.
yeah. 100%. I agree.
So
I agree.
that's
It's
that's for me. Again, we both like this movie, but for me, it's just like whenever I watch this movie, it's always a little bit like, all right, I'm ready to move on to
move on.
something
Yeah.
else or move
I
on
get
to
it.
the next one.
I get it. It's tough.
Yeah.
But
Where do you
all right.
have Goblet of Fire?
Goblet of Fire. Such a great movie.
It's a really tough one for me because I love the book. This book is maybe in my top two,
Yeah.
but the movie disappoints a little bit, I think. So I'm interested to hear what you think.
Yeah. So I'm kind of in a similar boat and I'm kind of wrestling, but I have it 4.
Okay. I have it down at 6.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's too low in my opinion.
I
So
have it below Sorcerer's Stone just for me because of the when I read Sorcerer's Stone and then watch the movie, I feel like I just stepped into the book. When I read Goblet of Fire and then watch the movie, I feel like I'm expecting so much and I
okay.
only get what I get is really good and really entertaining, but I don't get enough of what I
Yeah.
want.
See, I get that, but at the end of the day, I think that's true of all the movies just because we're talking the first 2, those books are what, 200 something
Right.
pages into a 2-hour movie.
Right.
Um, doable. Like
Hmm.
you can
Hmm.
really capture the essence of a book. Uh, the fourth one's 700 something
Right.
pages,
They get
and
long. Yeah.
so it's like it's impossible to not leave a ton out. Um, I love the fourth one because it's so different, right? Like
Hmm.
the whole school year is different. I like the opening scene or with the opening sort of they're at this big World Cup event
Yeah.
in the tents. Just the idea to me as a sports fan of like being at this world event for this sport that you love, and you get to camp out in this field, and
So cool.
the tents are basically
So
like
cool.
mansions inside.
Yeah.
Incredible. Then you're at this game that's so crazy. That's just really, really cool.
Yep.
And then the inclusion of now the Death Eaters are coming. Stuff starts to
Hmm.
get crazy.
Yeah, it gets a little bit real now.
Really cool. Like I love that scene. Um, and then the games are just so interesting. It's so fun seeing the other schools come in, all that happens, all the way down to the end. Like the fourth one is where you really like things are going the first three, but the fourth one is like, okay, like we're in it. Like this is real.
Hmm.
Voldemort's coming back. There's so much that happens where it's incredible. Um, I agree my book would be a little higher on the list if we're
Yeah.
drinking books, but it's phenomenal. I gotta have it for I love this movie so much.
All right. So before I get into my thoughts on four, one thing that you just reminded me of that also brings three down a little bit is when you think of Harry Potter as a whole, it's Harry and Voldemort, their story together. Three doesn't really like it
Right.
progresses it because, Wormtail escapes, but for the majority of that movie, it's just like not relevant to the
Yeah.
Voldemort thing. All
Yeah.
right. So with four, the good things about four. I love the international schools. I think that's one of the most fascinating parts of Harry Potter is like this
Mhm,
world that they're in. I wish we had to see more international schools in the
mm,
newer Fantastic Beasts movies, but we haven't so far.
mm,
That's neither here nor there. It's
mhm.
awesome in this movie.
Yeah.
Um, the Quidditch, what we get to see of the Quidditch World Cup, super, super cool. That's one of the things I wish we got to see a lot more of, though. I wish we could actually see some of those because we see a ton of Quidditch in the movies with Harry playing it,
Yeah.
but we don't really get to see that much of like the pro
Yeah.
Quidditch players. And I think that's something in this world that I'm always appreciative of is when because so much of it takes place in a school where these kids aren't like fully developed, fully,
Mm,
can't use their powers and stuff like that. It's always cool when we get to see like the adults go at it and what it
mm.
really is supposed to be. So I wish we could have seen that with Quidditch. And then some of the tournament I think is really cool as well. Like the dragon task is awesome. The
Yeah.
mermaid one is pretty good as well. The maze one I think they could have gone a little bit harder on. I think they could have pushed that a little bit more, which would have made
There's a
it
lot of
better, I think.
details they left out that they
Yeah.
could have. Yeah.
And I just think more time spent in the maze, regardless of if they included the specific details. I just think making that seem like a big third task would have been better. But
Mm,
I mean, the ending, like you said, the ending to this one is just
great.
chilling,
Yeah.
just chills every time.
Yeah.
One of the most heartbreaking endings, I think, with Cedric. You kind of you get transported to this graveyard.
Mm,
Cedric dies. And then there's this whole fight and the whole interaction between Harry and Voldemort, and it's so intense. You're like, wow, that was sick. And then it's like, oh, wait a minute, Cedric died. Like you kind of
yeah.
slips your mind a little
Right.
bit, and then
His
it brings
dad
you
starts
back to it. It's
freaking
like,
out.
oh man, dude, when his dad's like, oh my boy, that's just heartbreaking.
It's so
It's
heartbreaking.
heartbreaking. I wish they didn't have to do that, but it
But
also
hey,
is kind of what
it's
makes it
I was gonna
so
say you need
intense. Like
those.
it's a tough thing to do, but I guess JK had the heart to do it.
Yeah. I mean, as the good
Um,
authors, you got to be able to write the difficult stuff.
yeah,
You got to be
true,
able to do
true.
it. So
But yeah, I think that's my qualm with this one is there's some really cool stuff like the international schools, like Quidditch. I
yeah,
just wish we got more of it.
yeah,
So that's
understandable,
yeah,
understandable.
that's all I have to say about that.
All right.
Um, Order of the Phoenix.
Okay.
Where do you have Order of the Phoenix?
I got it number two.
Same,
This movie is
same.
incredible. I mean, the list goes on. This was for a long time my favorite book
Okay, really good book. Yeah.
before I even read it because it's blue. And that automatically for me, you know me. Before I read these
Oh
books,
no!
before I read these
I wish
books,
you
I
hadn't
was
said that.
fired up. But that has nothing to do with why I have it at two at the end of the day.
Oh man.
Uh, but when I can remember because so Harry Potter is such a nostalgic thing for me because when I was
Hmm.
younger, I wasn't allowed to read it until I was a little older. So I can
Mhm.
remember like having the books but not reading them.
Oh
And I
yeah.
just thought that I love the covers of the books and how it
Mhm.
goes on to the back. I love like the
They're
Harry
great
Potter,
covers. They're
the
great
logo, like
covers.
the
Yeah.
Harry Potter, the I
Mhm.
don't know what it is, but it's
The
like how it
word
sticks
mark.
off a little bit. It's kind of
Yeah.
like um shiny. Almost like I just as a kid, I
Mhm.
loved the blue. I just thought the covers were all sick, but I thought this one was really cool. Um, but the reason I have it at two, there's so much that happens. So like
Yeah.
Voldemort is back. We know it in the fourth one, but this is like okay, now Voldemort's like on a move, right?
Yeah. How about the ending to this one where it's you know him standing there in the Department of Mysteries and it's Fudge coming in and
And
and it's him after denying it the whole
right, because
movie
he's just
he locks
psycho,
eyes with him
and he's
and
like,
just goes he's
he's
back.
back,
That's
crazy.
whoa,
And
chilling in a whole different way.
you want to talk about heartbreaking when Sirius dies, dude?
Dude,
Because he's probably my
in
favorite.
the when they're dueling and he goes, "Nice one, James."
Yes,
Oh man.
so good. It
Oh,
the like
oh.
that ending scene, um, when they're all at the Ministry of Magic, that
Mm,
might be the best scene in Harry Potter. Like it
yeah.
might be. But
Dumbledore versus Voldemort, like I was just saying, with the Quidditch, like you get to
yes,
see them practicing magic, whatever,
right.
and then you get to
Like this,
watch
like
the two greatest wizards ever just
duke it
doing it.
out.
And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, right, there's this music and all this stuff going on, and then these two start going, and that cuts.
Well, I
And
wouldn't
it's
even
just
remember,
I
but
believe it's just the sound of them dueling,
maybe
and
because
which is
there's
crazy.
I mean that duel is wild. But
Yeah.
like the fighting between all the Death Eaters that are coming back, all right, like this whole group of the
Hmm.
good guys that are going back and forth. It's so good. Being in Ministry of Magic is so intense. Like, I
It's
just love.
arguably the biggest single like good versus bad fight because obviously you have the Battle of Hogwarts, right? Where
Yeah.
that's I would say that's like a lot of little fights happening.
All right. This is
This
just
is like
one.
one area, 10 good, however many,
Yeah.
seven,
Right.
8 of Harry and his friends and Dumbledore against Voldemort and his Death Eaters,
Right.
just all right here.
It's so cool. And
Yeah.
um there's a lot of really neat stuff, right? All throughout that one. Why am I forgetting what it's called? But like the dueling club they have where they're teaching
Dumbledore's army. Yeah.
Dumbledore's army. That's
Super
really,
cool.
really
Super
awesome.
well done too in the
Yes,
movie, I would say.
exactly. It's all just fantastic. I really want to go back and um, I need to go back and watch this one because I'm forgetting details.
This might be
But
one of the best standalone, like if you're gonna go back and watch one, like just the
yes,
because I think it's one of the best self-contained stories.
100%. It's
You have
yeah.
a great arc. Umbridge, let's not forget about Umbridge, the
Oh yeah.
only other person besides Voldemort to leave a permanent mark on Harry.
And let's be clear, she's one of the worst
Oh
people
yeah.
ever in movies. Like
Oh.
it almost like she's so bad it almost takes away from the movie because you hate her so much. But at the
Hmm.
end of the day, it's like you're just watching. Like there's a
Maturing is realizing that hating Umbridge makes this a good movie, not a bad one.
exactly because when I'm
Yeah.
younger, like it just you're just mad the whole time, right? There's this
Yeah.
chunk of this movie where you're just not happy, but it's
Exactly.
because it's done so well. Um,
100%. Could
I
not
mean,
agree
hey,
more.
and you start to get a little romance in this movie as well, right? Harry and Cho. That's a
Yeah.
little. Um,
That's
it
something
is
we
like
can discuss, the romance aspect of these movies.
it is. It's there. It's just there's so many dimensions to it.
They're
Let's
starting
be
to grow up a
clear.
little bit, yeah.
Exactly. That's what they're starting to grow up. They're starting to actually
Hmm.
feel closer to like adults, closer to they're like competent wizards, right? Like they're
Yes.
teaching each other like, hey, we got to fight, we got to stand up for ourselves. Um,
And it's really starting. This is when things are really starting
exactly.
to pick up
Yeah.
with the story.
Because up until this point, like Harry in the fifth one kind of talks about how he feels like he hasn't done anything. He doesn't think he's this
Hmm.
like great wizard. And like if we're being honest, like the guy hasn't. Like he really hasn't. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like he
Right.
he's
There is
been
a legit question about like when you're ranking, the power of wizards in over the whole wizarding world, I feel like it's so easy to throw Harry in there because he's a title character.
right.
Up
Top
to this
four.
point, he has done nothing to deserve
The,
being put into those
yeah.
rankings.
I don't want to say nothing because he has brave, like he's brave. He
He's
has the
brave,
bravery,
but in
but let's
terms of skill,
yeah, we're talking competence as a wizard.
right?
Like, yo, I'm going to fight somebody. I want someone to back me up.
I don't know that I'm picking Harry.
The only aspect with Harry is like, hey, at least if we die, like he'll die by my side. But it's
Right.
not like, hey, he's gonna
At
protect
least if
me.
I bring him, I know he's gonna try to fire
Right.
off some spells,
Like
you
he's
know?
not gonna abandon me.
Right.
But like first one, he's just protected by something he doesn't even understand.
Yeah.
Second one,
Little
gets a little
lucky.
lucky.
Little lucky.
Little lucky.
Fox comes in to stay and saves the day. Yeah.
Exactly. Even in the fourth one, like he does some heroic things throughout the
He
movie,
gets
but he doesn't
he gets guided to that
exactly
victory. He
right.
doesn't win that by himself.
The fifth one is where he's like, all right, no, like I'm gonna try to train. I'm out there. Like he seems like he's starting to come into maybe he is
Mm-hmm.
a good wizard, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's a phenomenal movie. Phenomenal movie.
Yeah. I love this one. This is one that when I was ranking, I was not sure if I was doing the right thing, ranking it so highly, but every time I think about it, I feel so vindicated in doing
Yeah.
it. And honestly, maybe purely because of that battle scene that we talked about, because it is just so cool. Maybe some of the best magic that we get to see in the
Yeah,
whole universe with
for sure.
Fantastic Beasts included.
For sure.
Another one I have a feeling that we're gonna have high praise for, Half-Blood Prince. Is this is your number one?
It's number one.
Yeah.
It's
This is for me, this is number three.
okay.
But
I
like I
respect
said
that.
at the beginning, 1 through 3, I
Really
had a
tough.
hard time. They're pretty tight for me because they all have qualities that are super good. I think this one's standing out feature is the Horcruxes probably.
Oh yeah,
And
because this is
it's really picking up with the Horcruxes and
right.
and some really cool magic as well in the cave, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, right.
That's a
I mean,
super cool sequence.
you think about the Harry Potter versus Voldemort, like that's the pervading. This is
Hmm.
what's happening in this series,
Right.
right? It's sort of like first movie, you're here. Second movie, maybe a little bit. Third movie, if anything, dips,
Yeah.
and then it just exponentially grows after that.
Oh yeah.
4, 5, and then 6 is just like this is like that's what the movie is.
Yeah.
The Horcruxes, which is such an interesting idea.
So cool. Yeah.
So many adventures he's going on trying to figure it out. Um,
You get a lot of Voldemort in this one.
yes,
I think maybe one of the criticisms you could have with this is that maybe you don't even get enough compared to the book, where you find out so much about
mhm,
his
mhm,
past and where he's come from, and even kind of like why I mean, he's a terrible, terrible person, terrible wizard. But you kind of can almost trace back what got him to where he
exactly,
ended up, which is
exactly.
always a testament to a good villain.
Yeah,
But if the fifth one was okay, we're starting to going, the sixth one is like, this is we're in it now. We
right,
are going. This is what's happening. It is definitely still building,
yeah,
but
right.
you are
This
fully on the highway here.
that's what, like you're fully invested. You don't want to stop watching.
Hmm.
Like Harry in the fifth one is finally starting to show maybe he is a good wizard. Sixth one, it's like, all right, Harry's like grown up. He's the
Yeah,
real deal. Like Harry's the type of guy I'm going into like battle. It's like
right.
I'll follow this guy, right?
If you
Like
think about it, Albus Dumbledore, the greatest wizard ever,
mm,
is going to hunt Horcruxes, and who does he want by his side? He wants 16-year-old Harry Potter going with him.
incredible.
And part of it, yes, is to teach Harry, but I don't know that he does that if he doesn't also trust Harry to be able to hold his own.
Of course. He believes in Harry.
Yeah.
How about the end? One of the crazier plot twists, like heartbreaking moments. Four,
Yeah.
five, six.
If
Those like
you had not read the books, this is maybe a twist up there with like Empire Strikes Back.
that's what I was literally gonna say.
Because if you have no idea what's about to happen, the not only what happens, but how it happens is a jaw-dropping moment. And it's hard to
It
watch every time.
it's like you're hoping it's gonna be different.
Yep.
But the levels to it, like, hey, you don't think he's gonna die. You really don't, but you definitely don't think he's dying in 6. Like, you
No.
don't think he's dying before 7. No
Right.
way. And then
There's a whole book, whole movie, part 1
yeah,
and
yeah,
2 without this guy? Are you kidding
It
me?
doesn't seem possible. The fact that it's Snape that does it, and it's partly because let's be real, the first six movies you don't like Snape anyway,
Right.
but you know Dumbledore loves
You
him,
have it pounded into your head that this is a guy you can trust.
right? Like,
He might be kind of messed up. He might not like Harry, but
right,
you have it pounded in that
right.
he is on the good side.
Exactly. He's just a jerk, but
Mm-hmm.
he's on our team.
Right.
And then it's like, wow, no, like you actually are evil. That's what you're thinking
Yeah.
in this moment.
Yeah.
So good. So wow.
Do
Incredible.
they do the wands up thing in 6, or is that not until 7? I
The
think it's in
one's up.
6, right? When Dumbledore dies and they all like put their wands up and light them up and whatnot. I
Um,
think it's right after he dies. That
I
would make
think
sense,
so. I
right?
think so.
That's I mean, that's a pretty cool little scene. Not in the books, but
Yeah.
I believe it added into the movies, and it's kind of a
Yeah.
cool like. I think it's pretty. There's maybe some like chilling music or something going on,
Yeah.
but it's a
It's
pretty cool like. It gives you time to kind of sit there and process it. I would
100%.
say it doesn't, because it is towards the end of the movie, so I feel like it would have been easy to imagine if they ended the movie there. Imagine if they killed him and cut.
Like it's just him falling
Yeah,
and
and
then
then
credits.
end credits, black screen for a couple seconds, and then credits.
That's what it should be.
Maybe they should have done that.
I know that maybe we should be
Holy
making these movies.
cow! Wow. But again, a little bit more adult magic in this one. You start to get kind of like, Sectum Sempra is whew, kind of a scary spell, to be quite honest.
Terrifying. Let's just call it what it is.
But
Yeah.
yeah, it's I just think, and like we said when we were talking about this during our full top 10 movies or whatever,
Yeah.
one of the better book to movie adaptations, I would say, in terms of, I think a lot of
Yes.
people who have this highly rated as a book probably have it similarly rated as a movie, because I think I think they're both good and they both compare with each other pretty
Without a
well.
doubt. Without a doubt.
Yeah.
Very
All
true.
right. So it leads us into Deathly Hallows Part 1.
Yeah.
Where do you have Part 1?
I'm trying to think. I should have been keeping more track of what you have picked and haven't, but maybe this is what makes it good, is I'll be surprised. I
Mhm.
have it 5.
Okay, I have it at 4, so just a little bit higher.
So
Definitely pulled
maybe
up a little bit for me by the second one, though. I'll admit that.
yeah. See, so this is like I'm really ranking it standalone, and maybe part of why I have it as low as I do is just because I don't like that there's 2. And
Fair,
the first
completely fair.
and the first one is like I'm watching the 7th book, right? I'm watching it, but I'm not gonna get any of the conclusion.
Right.
Like it just gets cut short, and
That's always tough.
it just feels wrong. There's so much that's cool about this movie, without a doubt. I mean, the start, it's again, you're seeing, it's just like this is just the war, and so this is
Mhm.
just the trained, like these are the pros going at it, trying to fight.
Right.
So that's all this movie is, which is really great. But it's still, this movie almost feels like it's just setting up another movie, whereas
Totally
all the
fair.
stuff in the book doesn't feel that way, right? Like this is the
Right.
culmination.
It's part of the
The
whole
7th.
story. Yeah.
So that's why it's hard for me. Um,
Totally get
so
it. Totally get it.
yeah,
That's one of the
that's my
things that I struggle with
qualm.
The Lord of the Rings movies, is that they don't feel like individual movies to me. So like when I watch the first one, I'm like, yeah, okay, that was pretty good, but it's clear like it just ends like there's clearly more. So I totally get that. It definitely feels, I do think that the ending to this one is all right. I think it's one of the more heartbreaking
It's tough.
endings. Like
Hmm.
I forgot honestly for a while how this one ended,
Yeah,
and then I
and when you
watched
see
it.
it,
Just it was on TV. Someone threw it on in college. It was on TV. I walked in, and um,
brutal.
Davi catches a knife in the back. Let's just say it how it is.
It's brutal.
And then pretty shortly after, the movie ends. Like there's not a lot after that. There's Davi catches a knife. They freak out. Voldemort steals the Elder Wand, and that's it. And
It's
it's like, wow, that's where we're headed, huh?
yeah.
Dobby's
It's
dead. Voldemort, and one of the, if you, again, if you had not seen or if you had not read the books, um I think they do a
Plot
pretty
twist.
decent job kind of explaining what the Elder Wand is. So if
Yeah,
you are watching Voldemort steal the Elder Wand at the end of this movie,
you understand the significance.
heading into the next movie, in your mind, the most powerful wizard alive has the most powerful wand in the world. So you're thinking, how on
Yeah, it's
earth is
terrifying.
Harry going to, how's he going to do this?
It's
Basically.
it's very similar to like, okay, Thanos has the Infinity
Yes.
Gauntlet.
Yes.
That's
A
what it
hundred
is.
percent. Hundred
So
percent.
yeah.
Couple of things I like in this one. Maybe this is actually not a great thing. Maybe this should take it down for me, but you get a lot of Harry and Hermione in this one, and a lot of seeing like how good of a friendship that is. And the reason I say maybe it's not a good thing is because I feel like knowing where that's headed in my mind while I'm watching that on screen, I'm like, these two should end up together. They should end up, they just should. They should
Mm,
be, they should end up together. And then obviously we know that they don't. So it's kind of like, what's going
yeah,
on here? Like,
yeah.
you know, Ron is a little bit annoying in this one, but he's kind of annoying in a lot of them. Um, I mean,
Fair
let's
enough.
be
Fair,
let's be
like, fair
honest
enough.
here.
Fair
Let's
enough.
be fair. Like the
Yeah.
guy, is the guy really that great of a friend? I mean, he turns on Harry multiple times throughout the
Hey,
whole series.
they're teenagers. They're
Um,
young. They're
right. But yeah, and then like you said, there's just kind of like the feel of like this is serious at this point. They're on the run, they're away from school, it's just them, Dumbledore's gone, and this is what we're gonna have to do it now. I mean, you sort of feel like you're there with them, like, all right, we're in this, we're in the deep end. And then one more thing that I like in this one is Malfoy's kind of start of a redemption thing. It kind of just makes you think like, is Malfoy really a bad person, or has he just been caught in something that he cannot get out of? So
right.
that's kind of a
It's a nice
nice
little
little
redeeming
start
quality
here.
for
Yeah.
sure. Okay, it's
All
fair.
right. So if I'm not mistaken, you have part two as number three.
This is correct.
All right. I have it as number one. Uh partially, I mean, I feel like you probably know this about me, but I'm a big sucker for like the big ending of a franchise.
Oh yeah.
Um, so it gets points in that element, and I think they do it pretty well. Um, this is actually the epilogue. I don't know if you really like the epilogue. The more and more I revisit these movies or revisit the books or whatever, I'm kind of like, we don't need that. Like, it doesn't really add that much value. Um, and it's not like she's really done that much with it. Like, that information is not super useful.
Mm,
It almost, I think, would have been a little more powerful to like end it. But I guess the first time it gives you a nice kind of like, it's a nice note to end on, as opposed to
yeah.
the way this one ends. Um,
I think it's
I
kind of cool with the stories normally end in like the midst of the battle where it's like, okay,
yeah,
they've won, but it's still like a disastrous situation they're in.
right.
So I think it's kind of nice to go on and just see.
Yeah, like this
You
kind of
normally
works out for them in the
like
long
you
run.
normally need something after, right?
Right.
Like if Endgame ended with just like, okay, Iron Man snapped, he's dead, they win, and it was in that battlefield. Like you need
True.
something.
True.
You need, and I think it's the same thing where they've won the battle, but you can see the like, all right, look at them, like they did, like they won the battle
Yeah.
and they've been able to live the lives they were hoping to.
Yeah.
I
That's a
find
good
that
point.
kind of like a, oh,
That's a
that's
good
nice.
point.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think, I mean, one of the standout scenes in this one, Snape's memories, like as much as at the end of six, we're like, oh, what the heck is going on?
You
I mean,
fully are just like,
figuring having this in the book and the movie, like having this revealed to you
mm,
is, I mean, it changes the whole series. It
I
changes
mean, you
how
just
it
feel for
you will
him.
never watch the movies the same way after
Yeah,
seeing that the first
100%,
time.
100%.
Because the first one, right from the first movie, you start thinking about how this is going to all finish, and you see him in a completely different light. And then, I mean, we've talked a few times about like powerful lines in this series. When I mean, it's so many people have it, on necklaces, tattoos, all kinds of stuff. But the always is just such for a series that's about love and hope. I mean,
It's just
there's no better like right there
it's
than
it's it's just so heartbreaking. Like, and
yeah,
when love is involved in movies or something, do you see where it's like the couple that's happily ever after, and there's like this guy off to the side that is like always in love with,
right,
like, you don't normally see that. It's like
right.
you might see a guy that's cast aside that's like in love with this woman, or the girl in love with the guy, whatever, but then it's like the couple ends up isn't like good,
They're
and they
not the
split
right
up.
ones.
They
Yeah,
split up and then they get together.
right.
This one, it's like, no, the couple was great. Like,
Hmm.
but
And you
Snape
have
is
this
just awful.
guy who, you know, it's an always and like eternal thing. It's not like, okay, these two are together, but I still love her, and they're like off doing their thing. It's like she is gone. She is completely gone, and he is stuck with that
Right.
feeling and that regret almost of like not making the most of the time that he had with her. But
Yeah.
he's not it's like it's just such an
It's just
interesting dynamic.
it's heartbreaking,
Yeah.
but
So
man,
many heartbreaking moments in
yeah,
this movie. I mean,
it's
so
cool how
many hard deaths. Yeah.
it's so cool how he's redeemed. Um,
Mhm. Do you think that he is fully redeemed? Like, let's have that conversation, because there are people who, Snape is. I mean, Harry names a kid after Snape. I don't know that I would have done that. I can't necessarily fault him for it, but there are
yeah,
people who, will watch this and be like, I don't care. Snape was still a terrible dude, and I do get where they're like,
like he was a jerk,
yeah,
but I think when you can see his heart behind everything, you're like, man, and the way like he was watching out for Harry the whole way,
right.
the whole time.
I think, I mean, for the books and for the movies, for the story, it's great, right? But I think if this was real life, I would be like, all right, why don't you try and see this guy as Lily's son as opposed to the next coming of James?
For sure, for sure.
like,
Yeah, but
it's a little weird that that's his like, well, that's James version 2.0 instead of
but
like, this is
I mean,
Lily's son. I gotta be nice to him, kind of thing.
yeah, it's more natural when, I mean, like he's the guy. There's the physical resemblance of
True,
like you're
true,
the same dude
true.
that James was. He's seen a lot of similar traits where it's like, and he has his mom's traits too, of course, but it's
Hmm.
like it just easier to see the son as
Right,
the dad 2.0,
right,
right? But um either way, it is kind of strange. It's like, all right, well, like
yeah,
you were a jerk to this guy for the last
right,
6 years.
right.
But I still do think it's redeeming where you're like, okay, he did have a heart, like he did love Harry. He
Yeah.
was watching out for Harry.
Right.
And
At the end of his memories, when he starts talking to Dumbledore and is like, you raised this kid to eventually be a pawn in the overall battle. And he's like, wow, all right, he does have a
yeah,
heart, sort
yeah.
of.
See, it's a
Um,
weird situation
it's a
that he
weird
does.
one. But
But
how about when Harry does go to die, like that is a chilling moment when it's just centered. The camera is centered on him walking, like with stuff going by him, and you're sitting there with the realization, like, this guy is 17 years old,
and he's just gonna give it
realizing
up.
that he has to die for the greater good of humanity.
Yeah.
Not
And
even like his friends, not even the wizarding world, just
right,
overall, because who knows what Voldemort's going to do.
right. And he doesn't know that it
And
won't actually kill
yeah,
him. Like
he doesn't
he's
know that
doing
he
it
can
thinking
come
this is
back.
it. This is it.
This is it. And then you have to deal with, I mean, I think, I don't know if this is something that I do more than others or what it is, but um when you're seeing Hermione and Ron reacting, and his friends reacting to this, and I almost put myself in their shoes
Mhm.
and in Harry's shoes and like everyone's shoes in this point, and like, how would I like, I just don't think I could handle it at
No, it's crazy.
17 years old.
It's
Like,
crazy.
imagine, right? I mean, we've been good friends for so long. Imagine one of us was like, listen, man, I gotta go sacrifice myself. I feel
Yeah.
like, no, you don't.
Like, hey, we could think of an option B. Like,
Like
we can think
this,
of another way, but
dealing with that at 17
it's
years old,
crazy.
it's just such a chilling sequence.
And then the scene where he's in Hagrid's arms and he's back, where it's just goosebumps,
Yeah,
goosebumps, because it's
right.
so good.
Because yeah, because that is also, I mean, similar to the Dumbledore thing, right? You're like, ah, man, they're not going to kill Dumbledore, right? And if you haven't read the books and you don't know what's coming, when Voldemort just straight up kills him, it's
You're
like,
like maybe he
whoa,
just dies as
what?
a hero, like the sacrifice.
Right.
Who
And
knows?
Hagrid's carrying him back. Imagine again putting yourself in the shoes of those people. Like, this is a kid that you have worshipped basically as a god until from the point that he was born, because he defeated the Dark Lord for 17 years. And
He
all of a
thought he
sudden you're
couldn't
seeing
die. He
him
thought he couldn't.
be like carried in Hagrid's arms. Like, you think
I mean,
he's just dead?
the hopelessness there. They definitely like they don't have they like realistically they're not going to have any hope that like we can still win this battle.
Right. Your hero is gone. The
But then
only person that has ever directly survived this person is gone.
he comes back.
And he comes back.
It's
And yeah,
beautiful.
great moment.
Seeing
Great,
him.
great arc for Neville.
Oh wow,
I mean, come on. And
you
how
have to
about,
love
I
Neville.
mean, they did get a little bit lucky, I will say, with the casting on this one. Like, they did such a great job casting everyone throughout the movies. But the fact that they got this like chubby little boy, who was perfectly cast as Neville in the first movies, who then did turn out to just be an absolute stud by the end of it,
The perfect
is a
Neville for the
little
end.
bit lucky.
Hey, that's just you got to just tip your hat. Like
Yeah,
great casting.
great job.
Um, I mean, Mrs. Weasley going in on
Oof,
Bellatrix. That's
oof.
classic.
Yeah,
Classic.
it's
There's so
great to see the Weasleys get some shine as well.
that's what
Like,
I'm saying.
great to see, um, Mrs. Weasley be like a formidable wizard, and they're not just kind of this fun-loving, warm
Right.
family. Like, they are good wizards as well.
Yeah. Um, just a great movie. Great way
Yeah.
to wrap up the series. Um,
What
have
did
it at
you?
three.
Why do you
Yeah.
have it at 3? I'm curious. Is
Um,
it just because you just like the other two better, or is there anything
yeah.
in this movie that
It's
brings it down to 3?
it's the other two being better has nothing to do with negative about this
Mhm.
one. There's just so much about the other two. I do. Um,
Do you think being a part 2 has a similar effect or an
probably.
opposite effect as um why you had part 1 ranked at
I mean, yeah,
5?
yeah,
Like the fact that this picks up in the middle of a story,
yeah.
does that
It's
bring it down, do you think?
probably because I mean, like the seventh book is my second favorite book,
Hmm.
so I figure there's probably a good chance it's a little higher, but like not, it's not going to be number one for me. Like
Yeah.
I just love the sixth one that much.
Yeah.
But these aren't like it's not a big gap, you know. Like I just
Right.
love them all so much. So
Right.
great movies, but
Yeah. What a franchise. Honestly, it might be, at this point, it might be one of my favorite, like, just franchise, not necessarily overall franchise, because the Fantastic Beast stuff is a little weird, but as like a run of movies,
yeah,
it's
set around one character.
probably it's probably top 2, depending
It's
on how you qualify it, like
it is it's
Marvel.
top two for me. Yeah, Marvel. Assuming Marvel's just a separate thing because it's too big, too many different characters. Like
Yeah,
it's
I
too
would
hard to
say
quantify
like,
it as a series.
because I would say the Infinity Saga, if you stop it there, similar to how you stop the Harry Potter with like just Harry Potter movies, I would say I would put Marvel 1.
Yeah,
But
they've
if
gone
you
and ruined
want
the
to,
Marvel movies. So
Marvel movies is like, they're in a weird place right now.
and now they have shows. Like it's
Yeah,
just too hard to quantify it.
yeah,
So for
exactly.
me, it's like the Dark Knight series, and then Harry Potter's
Okay,
number two for me.
yeah, very fair.
It like just talking about it makes me want to go back and read the books
Oh,
again.
dude,
And I
it's starting to get to that point. This is a great time for us to do this. It's starting to
because
get to that point where it's like it's Harry Potter time.
if this is the thing, like especially like 4, 5, 6, 7, if we go read those books right now, there's going to be an insane amount of stuff that we did not remember is in there.
Also
That
true.
it's going to be like
Yeah.
that's always something I think about with like my favorite movies or favorite shows or series is like wish you could go back and experience it for the first time again.
Oh yeah.
These books, there's a lot of it. Obviously, we know the big parts, but there's a lot that like you're almost experiencing for the first time again because you're not going to
Mhm.
remember. It's like reminding you stuff.
Even something like, right, so I said, I mean, I don't believe that she had the Horcruxes thing planned out, but she does a great job of tying it together at the end where
Mhm.
um when it's explained to you and you can start piecing together different things from previous movies, that's a really cool first time as well.
Yeah, it's incredible. And I don't like writing, and
Yeah,
I don't really like reading. So the fact that I love reading those books as much as I do,
it's
like
a testament.
I don't read for fun. There's
Yeah.
legitimately there is no other book series that I've started and then finished. Like
Wow.
there's not a single one.
What
There
about
are
the
all
Maze Runner? I thought you read the Maze Runner.
Oh yeah, I did.
Oh, got him.
You're right.
Got him.
But I don't even love those. So that's like not even there's none of the book series I've started to finish. But I'm thinking Percy Jackson, never finished.
Mm,
The
well,
Aragon.
that series is not finished, so
Okay, well, I haven't read all of them that have been made.
yeah.
Uh,
Okay.
Never finished the Aragon books, even though I own all of them. Um, I've never read Lord of the Rings. I don't know if I ever like really tried, but
It's tough to get through, dude.
Harry Potter is the
It's
only
so
one where like I
dense.
started and I didn't want to stop. Like I can
Hmm.
remember vividly reading the sixth one, and they're at the part where they're like in the cave. They're trying to get that Horcrux, and I had to go out with my family to like a family party, and I'm like reading it till we're running out the door, and I'm at the party like I want to go back and read. Like that's not
Yeah.
normal.
Yeah.
Um,
The books almost captivate you like a movie.
yeah, legitimate. I've like there's no
Yeah.
other book series like it, so that's why I want to go read them again. Um,
Audiobooks are great too. The audiobook version
yeah.
is great because you don't have to be actively sitting there reading and it's the same, like you
Yeah.
just listen to it.
I
Yeah.
don't get to hold that blue
Fair.
book though, which adds
Fair.
something, but it's
Fair. All right, let's go back through
should we just do the movies in order instead of like so rank what we have eighth to one
yeah. So
rankings?
I've got from 8 to 1, I got Prisoner of Azkaban, Chamber of Secrets, Goblet of Fire, Sorcerer's Stone, Deathly Hallows Part 1, Half-Blood Prince, Order of the Phoenix, Deathly Hallows Part 2.
Yeah. I got from 8 to 1, Sorcerer's Stone, Prisoner of Azkaban, Chamber of Secrets, Deathly Hallows Part 1, Goblet of Fire, Deathly Hallows Part 2, Order of the Phoenix, and the Half Blood Prince. So
Good
good.
lists. I definitely a
This is
big split in our list, I would say. Like
this is the most disagreement we've had.
definitely.
Even when
Definitely.
we've had rankings that were
Um
different.
and it's interesting because there's disagreement, but at the same time, we have right the bottom half of our list, I would say, is the same
Is
movies, and the top half is pretty much the same movies,
exactly.
but there is a lot of disagreement
That's
in
where
where they exactly go.
that gap I'm
Um,
telling you is there. Just
yeah, and I
interesting.
think we'd be remiss if we did not mention, another big part of why we like this movies is the casting. They're just all so
Oh
like Daniel Radcliffe is Harry Potter. Rupert Grint is Ron Weasley. I don't think they could ever reboot this and have it be the same. We
no.
both love Emma Watson as an actress, just in general. And this is, I mean, her most iconic role. It's almost
All of
sometimes
them.
tough to like separate her and Hermione. I feel
Yeah.
like,
I think
um,
all of them. Like
yeah.
I don't think I've seen Rupert Grint in
I don't.
another movie.
So
It'd be
he's an
weird.
interesting one because he did Harry Potter. He's done like one or two other things, but then he was like, you know what, I'm all
I'm
set,
done. Yeah.
and
Which
he like
almost
went and
like
bought an ice
is
cream truck or something.
it's like perfect.
Yeah, it's
Daniel
awesome.
Radcliffe I've seen in some other
He's
movies.
starting to get back into it
And
now more
he's good
seriously
in other
too.
ones. He's
He
in
did
I
take,
Used to
I
Move
feel like he took
Too.
a little bit of a break and then
Yeah.
like came back and was like, I'm ready to get back into it now.
Yeah. But great actors for sure.
Yeah. And then of course, Robbie Coltrane recently passed. So RIP to him. Uh
Rest in peace.
Hagrid. It's not
The only
Hogwarts is
Hagrid that
not the
ever
same without Hagrid.
no.
There's that clip. Oh man, every time that clip goes around, it's like Hogwarts wouldn't be the same without you. It's like, oh, man, that's sad.
That's true.
But
It's true.
yeah,
All right.
really enjoyed this. I
Me
really
too.
enjoyed it. I
Another
love
one
talking
down.
Harry Potter. Love it.
It's I need to go home and get all the books, bring them
It
up here and
just
start reading.
it just brings a smile. Like just thinking about that world brings a smile to my face.
It really does. But
All right. Those are our Harry Potter movie rankings. Let us know if you
that's a
agree or
wrap.
disagree. That's it. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Rank and Debate podcast. We really hope that you enjoyed it. If you did and you're watching on YouTube, please consider hitting the like button. If you're listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or any other podcasting service, please consider following the podcast, subscribing, whatever it is you do on that podcast service, and tell a friend about our podcast. It'd be really cool if we could get some more people listening to this, more people sharing their opinions on these lists. So if you have a friend that you think would like our podcast, feel free to send it over their way or just mention it to them. That would be really awesome. Hope you have a great day.
I wore a corduroy jacket to a first date, buttoned up, my arm held out straight. Oh, I would give you all my help. I wonder if you could tell. And I'm drowning in these paper notes I wrote. I kept them all 'cause I thought you were so perfect that you never write back. And I feel some pleasure, so the splinters in my mouth, that trash or treasure is at its way with me. When the days get empty, I fill them up with words you swore. And if you sent a letter, would it get to me? Red ribbon tied back your hair. You've never seen such a long stare. I couldn't hold it back if I tried. I never tried. And your advice always seemed to be on time. You quote to me every Bible line. Soon I'll quote them back. And I feel some pleasure, so do splinters in my mouth. That trash or treasure is at its way with me. When the days get empty, I fill them up with words you swore. And if you send a letter, would it get to me? Just like that, we close our eyes and we're right back, holding hands, wearing your Georgia cap. Nothing shall come of